It's an age-old game, and one local man wants to bring its popularity back to the area. John Cordisco hosted the 4th annual Broome County Chess Championship this weekend at Cordisco's Chess Center in Binghamton. About a dozen chess enthusiasts joined the tournament, vying for a piece of the prize money, a trophy, and of course bragging rights. This year, David Gogan took first in the open section, and Daniel Dudley took first in the reserve section. Cordisco, who actually grabbed second in the reserve section, says chess is more than just a game.
If you're a player, it's hard to describe. There's a quote that I use all the time that if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right.
Cordisco holds the tournament each year in memory of his brother, Francis Cordisco. He hopes to bring back the love of chess to the Southern Tier, where it once thrived in the 70s during the Bobby Fischer glory days.
Welcome to Tashkent 2014, one of the preliminary tournaments leading up to the candidates final for the World Championship Challenger. It's in a series, a FIDE Grand Prix series. A lot of great players in here, but especially for me is my buddy Carl Nakamura is in it, and I hope Carl does well. Anyway, folks, FIDE Grand Prix series, Tashkent 2014. Games coming up. Here are the current standings after 4 rounds in the latest leg of the Grand Prix series. Top 2 players out of this tournament will be in the candidates final. I'm pushing for my buddy Carl. Currently, it's Maxime Vachier-Lagraf, MVL, from France is first. Andreikin and Karyakin from Russia at 2.5. And my buddy Carl Nakamura from the United States at 2.5. Rajabov, Gary, Mamedyarov, and Jobava with 2. Caruana not having a very good tournament. Caruana, Gelfand, and Yakovenko at 1.5. And last is Kazmanjanov. So these are the standings after 4 rounds. Hi folks, John Cordisco here. Round 4 of the current leg in the FIDE Grand Prix series. This is from Tashkent 2014. This is by far, all the games today were all drawn. And I should say in this round. And by far this was the most interesting. It's Mamedyarov as white, and as black, my buddy from the United States, Carl Nakamura. Let's see how it goes here. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a Queen's Gambit decline, so let's get to it. Pretty much standard stuff at the beginning. I won't go through too much of it. E3. Interesting. You get your bishop when you go B4 here. And then black moves to reinforce his d-pawn. And you move e3. You get the bishop outside the pawn chain. Bishop f5. g4. Pretty much standard stuff. I guess it's something that's been tried long ago. And it seems to bust up white's kingside pawns. But doesn't really put white's king in danger, oddly enough. These pawns here are very good at protecting the white king. And with that bishop there, he's really okay. It doesn't block in any pieces. Doesn't block in any other pieces being developed, and it chases away the bishop. Bishop e6. h4. Get your pawns rolling right away. Knight to d7 for Carl. And h5. Just if you're going to do it, do it. You know, go big or go home, as they say. Interesting might have been queen to b3, computer's choice. And after knight to b6, a4. And then a5. Interesting. After h5, knight to h6, hitting the g-pawn twice, forcing white to put his bishop there to protect the pawn. Knight to b6, as we had discussed. Now, this is a saying I say a lot in my videos. What to do, what to do. You want to get developed. Maybe white will castle queenside. Maybe you won't castle at all. What do you do here? Now we all know if you go develop your knight here, this pawn is lost. So the only way to develop your knight is go to h3. Makes perfect sense. Now queen to d7 is the computer's choice here, but I like a Carl's choice as well. Lash right out. Go for it. g5. Pawn takes pawn in passant. H takes. Bishop e5. Right now, my computer's on off screen for its 13. It's about a half a point advantage for white. No big deal. Now it starts getting a little tricky. Computer likes f6. And that's what Akaro did, of course. Interesting what this knight is doing here. Right now, once this knight moves, he's pinned. It's kind of awkward. Knight to f4. Now the knight is pinned. He sacrifices it. Now, it's funny. He made the sacrifice for 2 pawns, and that also is the best move on the computer. By far. Knight to f4. He takes the bishop. Knight takes. If knight had taken the bishop instead after queen to d6, g5, bishop f6, pawn takes, queen takes, d takes, bishop takes. But even material, that's a weird position there. But after knight takes, Carl goes rook to g8. Now what will happen is if rook takes, you just attack the rook and you pick up the knight. So it's not a piece hanging. Knight takes e7, queen takes. Give you an idea, if rook had taken, bishop, rook takes, d takes, rook h6, rook takes, bishop takes. 2 pawns for the piece still. But look at these pawns coming down. That could be powerful. After knight takes c7, queen takes. And of course the computer did that. It's showing that black is ganging up on the g-pawns. That is basically white's only saving grace, is that pawn attack. Rook takes. So Carl gave it back. And then he went e4 and locked the position up. He gave the piece back. I think he stopped white's counterplay almost completely. This pawn can't go anywhere, and this pawn's hanging out to dry. So in all intents and purposes, the g-pawn is isolated. a4. Get some space on the queen side. Now it's obvious that white's not going to castle. Knight to d7. Queen to b3. What to do here, what to do. Knight to f6. Makes perfect sense. Get the knight where it'll do some good. Hit this pawn, and also the queen guards the b pawn. Rook to c1. Bishop takes. Wins that pawn back. Rook takes. Queen takes. Queen takes b7. Rook to d8. Nice. Now, black's up the exchange, but what does he really have here? We'll have to see. White takes the a7 pawn. Queen to e7 is the choice for the computer to trade queens. I'm not so sure about that. Bishop takes e2. Get rid of the light squared bishop. Rook to f8. I like that better. It's typical of Carl. It's aggressive. It goes against the weak pawn here. He's going to have a hard time. Now he's got to move the knight back to d1, and that knight becomes terribly passive. Just to guard that f pawn, because he can't move it. Because if he moves it to here, it's taken en passant, and then that's it. I mean, white's doomed. Bishop takes, king takes. Where do you put the queen to do the most good? Carl decides queen to d6, and that's a good move. Gives the queen a lot of scope. Now you're threatening maybe queen to here. Here. Who knows? Maybe rook up. Swing it over later. Who's to say? Rook to c5. He's trying to stop that c5 advancement in the future. Going to stick the rook there. It cuts off the queen from that side of the board as well. Rook to b8. Nice. That's nice. Even the computer says 0.00. I'd much rather play white, or excuse me, black here. Queen to a5. No. King to D2 was a choice of the computer. After rook takes, knight takes, rook takes check, king to C3, rook takes. Material's back being dead even, queen rook ending. Computer's got it at all zeros. Queen to A5, king to D7. The king's a little bit more danger, but I'm not too concerned about it at all. Queen to C3, rook to A8, it's going after the A pawn. A5, rook F to B8. Carl's trying everything he can. I think he's pushing an even position. And he's not pushing it so he puts himself in danger. That's the good part for him. He really is trying to win this game, I think. B4, rook to B5, kind of the same theory. Block off that B pawn from ever advancing. Rook takes, pawn takes, queen to C5, rook to C8, queen takes, king to E6. Then we got a knight and 3 pawns for a rook, but even still, black is fine. A6 and rook A8. This is where they called it a draw, and the computer agrees. He can't save that pawn, the A pawn. That knight's going to take forever to get back in the game. I mean, where's he going to go? Maybe here, 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 here. It takes forever. There's just too much time. And that queen could just check the black queen could just check the white king forever. So it's a draw. I thought that was an interesting game. The most interesting game of all the games, because all the rest of them are pretty boring draws. Anyway, folks, that's the game from round 4 of FIDE Grand Prix from Tashkent 2014. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank all my many new subscribers. I've got more than 200 now, and I never thought I could get that many subscribers. And I personally appreciate all of you that have subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And as always, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.